And when you eat those, you're getting sour green apple and flavorful orange. Apples and oranges don't mix.
No, they don't.
You got it wrong. You screwed that up.
I don't really like sour, and I don't like apple-flavored stuff, so that's the problem.
Yeah, you shouldn't have gotten
the cherry. I love cherry.
Okay, hold on.
If there's a cherry one, then that would be the one for me to try.
Let's make sure. Oh, yeah.
There's a cherry on the front.
Right
Is that?
Those are cherry.
All right, I'll give it a shot. Much better. It still has that bubble yum thing going on, but that's way better than...
Let me try. Mm-hmm. And the yellow's lemon.
Yeah. I've just never been like the hard sweet tarts. I've just never been a big fan of. I'm just not a fan of sour or tart things.
See, I am.
Well, you're a fan of anything, I think, that has sugar and is called candy.
You ready on that there device?
Oh, yeah, I've already been recording.
Really?
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. This is Travis Holtree, and it's time for More Law Light, brought to you by Foreman, Watson, and Holtree, FWHlegal.com. We are back in the saddle at the high-rise, two-story white brick edifice, and it's at 530 Frederica Street, in case anybody didn't know that.
Correct.
PJ Starks and I are in the library conference room studio, which is cleaned out finally. It's no longer Trial Prep 101 or War Room. And we've been sitting here, little did I know, while being recorded, eating sweet tarts, chewy mini sweet tarts. Now, PJ's not a fan of sweet tarts in general.
I mean, I could do those.
You could do these?
It's one of those situations.
There's three
I don't absolutely hate sweet tarts to where I would never eat them, but if I have other options available, that's not going to be my go-to.
Okay.
You know?
It's not your favorite movie candy.
No. If I had the option between a Snickers and a Rolo, I would go with Snickers. But if I had an option between Rolo and sweet tarts,
You go with
I
Rolo.
would go with Rolo. But if there was only sweet tarts,
Now, you're a movie
I would do
guy.
that.
Do you,
Right.
when you go to movies, when you go to the theater
right?
to watch a movie, do you take candy or buy candy?
Are you trying to get me kicked out of the movie theater?
Well, no. Okay, I take candy.
All right, hopefully,
So let's say
hopefully Camilla, who runs the movie theater, is not listening to this.
Do you have a go-to movie candy?
Okay, so if I'm bringing it from outside the theater, yes,
What is
I
it?
will take Flips chocolate-covered pretzels. I love those.
Okay.
But you have to open the bag and get all the air out, and then I'll slide it in the back of my pants, sneak it in.
Or you could just take a girlfriend to the movies that has a purse.
There's that. Well, like when I was with Trina, she had a purse that was so small anyway, it wouldn't have fit the bag. Leslie, on the other hand, she gets like those Kate Spade purses. She's bougie. She has like backpack type purses. So hers would work. And we've actually done that. We went and got candy, and then we could fill her purse to the brim with the candy.
All right.
Which is not the healthiest thing to do. But now, if I'm actually at the theater, I'll get their mini Snickers, usually, or I'll do Reese's Pieces. Depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Now, can you make a bag of the Flips or Reese's Pieces or Snickers Minis? Can you make them last the whole movie?
Sometimes. Usually it's if I take both.
Okay.
Then I'll
Fair
eat
enough.
one early, and then I'll have the other one later on.
All right. And do you eat movie popcorn?
Not typically, but if I'm with someone, I'm not a big popcorn person. If I do eat popcorn, it usually has to have like a lot of salt and butter, which is probably why my cholesterol and lipids are not in the best of shape. So I won't get popcorn. But if I'm with someone who gets it, then I'll probably snack on it. Yeah.
Missy and I have an ongoing joke that we will get a large popcorn, and that if we get there before even, while they have the advertisements that are before the trailers,
Right.
They have the trivia and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
that if we get there and we watch some of that and then watch the previews, that by the time we make it to the movie, the two of us can have a large popcorn done.
No, I get it.
Right. And then I'm that way with candy. Like, my candy rarely makes it through the intro of a movie?
I'm halfway through the flips bag.
Okay.
By the time the movie starts.
Well, this is an interesting topic, and you know, if those that are listening, when you listen to this podcast, and you want to chime in, it's people have their thing. With my movie candy is one of two things. I like a box full of sprees because they are hard, so I kind of have to suck on them a little bit to make them last a little longer, you know.
Right.
So I like the box of sprees. I also like the new nerd clusters. Those things are bombs, man.
Yeah.
I like those. So those are my two, and I love movie popcorn I don't put the butter on it. So a lot of times, if Jax goes with us, we put the butter on it for theirs, and then I get my own tub without butter. But I do like the salt. Okay, so I mean it's salty, but I think it already has enough butter on it.
Sometimes if I'm trying to be healthier, I will not do the butter and I'll just substitute it with the nacho cheese that they have behind the counter. And you shake the bag up enough or the box. It's
okay. But anyway, if you have a favorite go-to candy or movie,
you don't get
comment.
This big because you don't have it.
Well, I want people to comment.
I thought you were talking.
I want people to comment either on Instagram if they see that, when we post this, we put it. Not only do we load it to all the places but we also put it on Facebook and Instagram.
Favorite go-to candy.
Yeah, and just in the comment section or any of our places where you list, put in the comments for the episode 161 what your favorite movie candy is. I'd like to know.
Are you feeling guilty about all the candy you eat, so you're hoping that you're not alone and that there's a ton of people out there who also
Just
have candy addictions?
Thing. We talk about things that have nothing to do with law. And we talk about the movies a lot, and so one of the things that we've never discussed is what your favorite movie, my favorite movie candy is, and then hey, why not ask the people that listen to this, especially the ones in Hawaii, what they think about movie candy.
They need to jump on board.
Jump on board. Give us your opinion.
Speaking of the movies, have you heard about this new independent horror film that's been making people like vomit and faint in the theater? Are you familiar with? Have you been seeing these stories? No. I don't know if it's true, but it's some of the best press I've ever seen for a horror film. Back in 2016, this little independent slasher movie called Terrifier came out. The killer in it is Art the Clown. It's played by this guy named David Howard Thornton. He's a super nice guy. I've actually met him. I've been friends with him on Facebook for a while, and we've talked a few times. And anyway, so Damien Leone is the name of the director, the writer-director. He started off making a couple of like low-budget anthology movies, and then he made a feature-length movie based off this small character he had created in the anthologies, and it was Art the Clown. The feature film was called Terrifier. Made it back in 2016, tried to get it funded on through Indiegogo, couldn't do it. Basically, I guess had to kind of go the self-funded route. It's really gory and everything, but it was good. It was like well done. And I remember talking to David and saying, who plays Art the Clown, I said, look, I really enjoyed the movie, and I could legitimately see Art the Clown becoming, at some point, potentially a new horror icon in the same vein as like Chucky, Freddy, Jason. So then, most independent filmmakers struggle to get their movies out there and seen and work really hard to do so. But anyway, so then the pandemic hits, well then Hollywood shut down. And what happened because of that, it opened up this door where eventually as theaters were coming back online, they were clamoring for content because the studios weren't able to pump movies out. And to some degrees, they're still like getting back up to speed. And what that's done is open the door for the theaters, and these distributors started picking up smaller movies like my movies and putting them out in the theaters. Well, here recently, this company called Cinedigm, which has been moving its way up the ranks, got its hands on Terrifier 2, which is the sequel. They ended up getting this movie funded through Indiegogo and through, I guess, private investors and stuff. They made it they made the sequel for about $500,000. I don't remember what the first one was made for, but it was like a fraction of that. But anyway, so this movie was made for about $500,000, which in studio terms is nothing. So Cinedigm gets it put into theaters. And this was at the beginning of October. It went into 800 theaters. It was only supposed to be in theaters for 3 days. It's still in theaters, and it's made almost $3 million.
Wow.
So
has it made people faint?
The press is saying, and it's like Damien has gone on like Entertainment Weekly, and it's like talked to all these big publications, USA Today, the New York Post, like every major outlet is covering the movie. And I don't know if it's word of mouth, or I don't know if it's something that's made up, or if people are actually fainting and vomiting. But it's everywhere now. Jerry O'Connell was talking about. He hosts like a daytime talk show. He's been talking about it on whatever show he's on, like Good Morning America or whatever. It's just everywhere now. And I guess what's exciting about it is this is saying, like, look at the staying power that these little super ultra low budget movies have. Yeah. If the most studios, it's about making money, right? Well, most studios, they're pumping their money into franchises and things that have already made money, which is why you see so many remakes and things. But what this has done, this is a sequel to a slasher movie that almost nobody saw.
That's crazy.
And it went from they made it for $500,000. And it's made almost $3 million in the box office. And this was without any professional marketing, no marketing campaign, nothing.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm planning on to go. I haven't had a chance to go see it because I was in Florida last week, and then
where's the closest place that it's playing?
Malco.
It's at Malco right
It's
now?
at Malco,
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
That was yeah. And it's still in 800. I think it's actually they've added theaters. Yeah, I don't know, but it's really exciting for a lot of us because we know that what's happened is now the bigger studios are really kind of starting to look at a lot of these smaller films, and that's some of the things that we've been talking about, like with Dave during our movie meetings. Yeah,
he was our last guest
2 weeks
Dave
ago.
Sheridan. Yeah, got a lot of comments about that. Well, okay, that's pretty cool. Terrifier 2.
Yeah, I rambled a bit, but
no, get your candy and your popcorn, your flips and your
sweet tarts, your flips. Go see Terrifier 2
and add to that $3 million.
Tis
bank.
the season.
Oh, speaking of, you know what we have coming up very soon.
I do. It's Halloween isn't even here. You're wanting to talk about Christmas.
I understand. I'm not talking about Christmas. I'm talking about the Christmas movie bracket. That's different than talking about Christmas.
Okay.
We are doing 32 movies, which means that you have 32 announced on 1 week, and that means then the 32 goes to 16, the 16 goes to 8, the 8 goes to 4, the 4 goes to 2, and the 2 goes to 1. So that's 6 weeks. And if we want this announced the week before Christmas, so you are 3 weeks in December, so the second week of November, this starts.
No pressure.
Second week of November. So you have 3 weeks to get your list of 32
That's
together.
Easy.
Okay?
That's easy.
And what?
I was going to say, did you see where they're doing a direct sequel to the original Christmas Story?
No.
It's called A Christmas Story Christmas, and they're bringing back the original cast. That's all the original cast members that are still alive. Obviously, Darren McGavin's not going to be in it, but Ralphie is coming back, and yeah.
How old is Ralphie now?
It came out in the 80s, and I was born, so he's probably in his 50s.
That'd be like me being Ralphie.
Right, basically, yeah.
Okay, well, that'd be interesting. So, do you remember the 2 movies that are in the Christmas Movie Hall of Fame?
Charlie Brown Christmas and Christmas Vacation.
Right. Okay, so there's still some good ones in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen the speaking of Christmas, have you seen the trailer for the movie coming out called Violent Night?
No.
Whoever these people are, they are genius. It's like someone sat down and said, what if Die Hard, what if it was, without a doubt, a Christmas movie? And instead of John McClane, it's almost the same premise, but instead of John McClane, you make John McClane Santa Claus.
Oh, wow.
And that's the movie that's coming out. And it
Violent
looks
Night.
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's about...
Is it going to be out this year?
Yes. It comes out this December.
Should we... Oh, it won't be out in time
It won't.
to put
Yeah,
it goes on next year.
Next year. But yeah, it's about this family who gets taken hostage by these terrorists. The leader is John Leguizamo. They're trying to get into this giant vault that this family has, and they've taken this mom, dad, and their daughter hostage. And Santa shows up, played by David Harbour. He was in Stranger Things,
right.
The detective, but Santa shows up, and the little girl just happens to be on his good list. So he decides to take all the bad guys out, and it's him fighting these terrorists to save this family on Christmas Eve.
How about that?
It looks so good.
Okay, well, Violent Night will be on our, well, maybe. If you see it and it sucks, you're not going to put it on the best 32.
Oh, no, but if you watch the trailer, there's
Right.
no way this movie's going to suck.
Kind of talking about this, the podcast is going to have a real exciting time coming up, starting the third week of November, all the way up through Christmas, doing our Christmas movie bracket. And we'll have members of the office as guests on the podcast again.
Yep.
To help us do the selections. It'll be between you and them, and I'm always the tiebreaker. And I think that you and I, we need to do before that also, before we start that, have an episode where we revisit, because we have so many new people, revisit the Street Brawl. The Street Fighter, because that's always fun. But I do want to talk about, look, we need to announce that. We kind of let it slide by. We were really busy with trial and then vacations.
Yeah.
Today is 161. What that means is most likely we could track it back to the exact day we started, but that means there's been 161 episodes of Law Lite.
Yeah.
That means that there have been a consecutive at least 155, 156 consecutive Fridays that we've had Law Lite. Now, there were 2, 3, maybe 4 special editions.
Yeah.
So if you take 161 and you subtract for this, 157. So 157, I think we've had 4 special episodes. We had the first time we did Super Bowl was a special edition. But my point is this, really, to do anything from a production standpoint, 157 consecutive times,
yeah,
it says a lot. I mean, it really does. I mean, while we have fun doing this, and while we've gotten a lot of feedback here locally, people know us and know our podcast. Just from the standpoint of being consistent, and it goes a lot to this sort of the way our firm works, is that the product that we put out in our cases, the representation, the communication, the development of the relationships, it's a consistency thing. It's being good at it day after day after day. And while, yes, there's been some episodes of Law Lite that were much better than others, and there have been some that were out of the world great, and then some that were just not so good, and maybe we both hit it on a bad day. What we've done we've showed up, and we've gotten it done 157 times consecutively for a total of 161. And for those that can do their math, if you divide that by 52, that is 3 years. 3 years of
it's crazy
of podcasts of Law Lite. For me, when we get it set, when we're recording it each week, I look forward to it because it's like a chance for me to, I don't have to worry about cases for a while. I don't have to worry about phone calls or emails. We can just come in here, some days talk about serious things, sometimes talk to a guest, sometimes talk about educating the public, and those kinds of things.
Right.
But it has accomplished a side of marketing that we wanted it, and that is just to sort of let people know that Foreman Watson Holtree kind of looks at things as what can we be consistently good at. Congratulations, because you are a big part of this.
Thank you.
And so, and looking forward to the next 161, because I don't see us missing. We've squeezed it into some tight spots, and you've had to cover it, and we've had to have, but we've made it work. And I've been on vacations and recorded, remotely, and we've gone, so it's been a lot of episodes I've recorded while I'm driving down the road, and you're here, and we get it done. We made it all through the pandemic, didn't miss anything. The plans for the podcast are to keep right on going, and we always come up with exciting ideas. I also wanted to share one of the things I wanted to make sure we got to today was I had this is the time of year, October and November, when we began planning our marketing for the next year. One of the things I don't think people appreciate that much is each year that's becoming more and more difficult to do. Number one, based upon what money buys you now compared to what it used to buy you.
Right.
And number two, that you're not just doing it in a way where you look and sound and come off like everybody else, because if you do, you kind of just blend in and it loses the power for what you're paying for it. I had a meeting today. I don't know if you saw, but Nicole was here, and she's with one of the companies that we use for helping us with marketing. What we are combating, what we are going against, is a mega money machine. Okay. The likes of Morgan & Morgan, the Hammer, and some of the larger firms over in Evansville, the money that they put into marketing. Today, the discussion I had was that in 1 week in just Kentucky, Morgan & Morgan will spend more than I do on an annual basis with this particular company. That is unbelievable. Now, the question for you and I, and for our firm, and for our attorneys, and for our staff, and for our families, is how do we stay relevant? How do we stay ahead? How do we put out there what we mean about being able to help people in a way that they remember us when we are getting outspent probably more than 1,000 to 1 on dollars? It's a challenge. I wanted to say to, for people that listen to this podcast, number one, thank you, because this is a way of marketing. You have to consider about 12 years ago, when I became the managing lawyer for Foreman Watson Holtree, managing partner, we didn't do any advertising when I came here. None. We had our number in the phone book. We began first by saying, okay, let's have a website. And then it was, nobody is on the radio. So here we come, radio. There was not one lawyer with billboards in Owensboro 12 years ago. We were the first lawyers on billboards. One call for injury law.
Right.
It was all over the place. We were the first attorneys in Owensboro on local radio. Now, there may have been attorneys on national. I'm not saying we're like the first ever, but in this area, on these radio stations that hit our airwaves in Owensboro, Foreman Watson Holtree was the first, and it was one call for injury law. And we at the time had the text injury to 82070. And if you texted injury to 82070, it came to my phone, and I could help you with your case. That was how we started. Well, before long, other people were doing it. And so I was like, well, what do we do different? Well, how can we be better at this? As early as 8 or 9 years ago, I started learning about targeting social media, how you could drop it into places and you could ping places with your social media content and boost certain areas of town, not certain areas of town, and things like that. And I started talking to people, and they weren't selling this to any lawyers. So I started doing that. And so then everybody started doing that. Everybody started having better social media. Everybody started doing that. So it was like, well, what do we do now? Right? What do we do next? So we started the whole, let's just inundate people with T-shirts. Let's go and speak. Let's go, let's be out front of that. Let's do things out in our parking lot. Let's do live radio instead of just radio commercials. And so we started all that. The law firm has given away over 10,000 T-shirts with different mottos, different slogans, different everything. The latest ones were a huge hit. It will not take long, and you'll turn around, and what you're doing is being either mimicked or being done better by somebody else.
Right.
It becomes tiresome. It really does. And today I had a conversation with one of our marketing people, and I shared with her the idea that you and I talked about, where we do a whole campaign with certain items that are put throughout the town. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about. And I don't want to go much further than that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And this person was like, it's genius. It's a genius idea. Then we were talking about our digital marketing and how our digital marketing is going to be pinpointed at the geographic regions, the traffic flow on our 7 15-second videos that we did last year for pre-roll, how many actual follow-through phone calls we've gotten from those. And we're going to do more of those. We're going to give them 7 fresh ones at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And we're going to do more direct digital marketing. Some of the things that they've shared with me, I'm not going to say. It's going to get honed in on where a certain percentage is in these areas where we're building our practices, and how we're going to get to those people in those communities is unbelievable. It's off the charts. The point I'm making is that in the same way that we've been consistent on doing marketing through a podcast, in the same way that we've hit it 161 times, our firm has always been willing to try new things, be a forerunner in what we're doing in our community. Now, I'm not saying we're the only law firm doing that in the United States. They're probably,
yeah.
But I'm saying that in this area, you look, and we have been trendsetters.
I've seen directly, even since I've been here, the copycat nature of some of these other firms with the way that they've done graphics and the way they've done their social media. But I would say the two biggest things I've noticed that they aren't doing, one, the podcast. Nobody else is doing anything like that. And two, these random videos series that we've done.
Well, I was getting ready to touch on that. Yes, the newest, and I've already given you a nod on this on the 3 Nod Pod, but right. But the newest video series, which, by the way, I am now on, what is my on? What's it called?
The Ride Along.
No.
What?
I have an entity.
You're on IMDb. That was your surprise. Yeah. I don't think we didn't.
Right.
Oh, it's because it hadn't happened yet, and then we did the pre-record.
IMDb, right?
Yeah. So
and because of Ride Along,
Internet Movie Database.
I'm on the Internet Movie Database. And you can go on there and comment about it, whatever. But the ride along has gotten a lot of great feedback, and so one of the things we're looking at as a way to get that possibly in front of more people. Nicole's working on that with me. I failed to mention that the podcast obviously is a trend-setting thing, or there's other people now doing podcasts.
Wait, there is?
Not other law firms.
Oh,
there are other law firms doing them in the state that I know of.
Right,
and other lawyers.
Okay,
but in Owensboro, but there are other people who have watched us do things, who have started their own podcast.
Well, the best form of flattery is imitation.
That's right. But you're right with the videos, these video series we've done. Let's face it. Look at how much education we did with the Tuesday tips. And we had those running for a year.
Yeah.
And all of that content's on our YouTube page. Mm-hmm. You're right. The videos, especially this ride along. And one of the things that we're really going to focus on in 2023, it's hard to believe. One of the things we're going to focus on is we're the attorneys you know. We are the ones you know. We are the attorneys that are coaching your kids. We are the attorneys who have kids in the same schools as your kids. We are the attorneys who are pulling up next to you at the stoplights in your city.
Right.
We are the attorneys that worship in your churches. We're the attorneys you know. You know us. And if you know us, there is a built-in level of accountability that we have back to you. If you know somebody and they ask a favor of you, don't you do it to your best to carry it out for them, because you know them. But if you pick a stranger to do it, what accountability do they have to you? None.
Right.
And so one of the focal points of 2023 is call the attorneys you know. The ones that you have seen, the household name in Owensboro. Call us. Anyway, I was excited in this meeting because she hit on the fact that we have been consistent with our message. We have been consistent. Our tone in our advertisement has stayed the same. The quality of what comes out of this office as far as marketing has been top notch. So that's why I wanted to point out 161 episodes, but that's just a small drop in the bucket compared to how we're consistent across the board. That's got to be what comes out to the public.
Right.
Going to be doing a lot of planning, and our next meeting with her is November the 9th. In between now and then, I have to put together some work. One of the things on there on your list is going to be, we got to come up with 7 new 15-second videos. Okay. The goal of 2023 is to really start to establish our demographics, where we're at and what we're doing, and because we're now getting settled in those communities.
Yeah.
And so, but again, this kind of talk is the kind of talk we have when we're not on the podcast as well. It's thinking, hey, how can we get better? What can we do?
Right.
I would venture to say that maybe one other law firm in our city maybe owns a drone or even uses it. I don't even know if they do. And I'm not saying, okay, that makes us better lawyers, but it shows that thinking outside of the box. And how can we, for people that don't know, our clients get a video before they're ever here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Before they ever step foot in our door, a new client gets a video showing what it's going to be like when they get here, what they can expect when they walk through this door. And we've recorded that for all the different offices. It's just a consistency thing. And I believe it. I believe it with my heart that we do things better than most people do.
Yeah.
And that's why I can put my neck out on the line and tell people, you won't regret picking the attorneys you know.
Right.
We're better than the big firms. We're creative. We have the manpower. We have what it takes. So really going to, ramp it up for 2023. But the leaping off point here was, it's by no mistake that we've made it through 161 consecutive episodes.
Right.
It's because that's how we do things.
You've said more than once that us not missing a Friday, that driving force in a lot of ways will be me, because I'm like, we're not missing this. Even when I had COVID, I was like, well, we're getting this
right
done. And I did it from my house, which I listened to that episode not too long ago, and I sounded like I was about to die during this episode. But anyway, I'm not a paralegal, and I'm not an attorney, and I'll never be.
Right.
What you guys do, I respect what you're able to do and the level of responsibility there is. And it's just, I still in a lot of ways can't wrap my head around what you're able to accomplish in any given week with so many different cases and things. But I say all that to say this. I was tasked with putting this podcast together, and I took the responsibility. I don't want us to miss every week because, like you said, it's a marketing thing, and it's something that can be fun, but at the same time, it's more than that, because it also shows who we are, what our beliefs are, what our feelings are, who we are behind the scenes, right? And it's all a part of this greater thing that we're doing that I believe in. I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a paralegal, and I don't get the day in and the day out with the clients and stuff, but I know that this, like everything else, the getting the message out, to bring that message to these people who need help, because our message is getting to them somehow through so many different ways. So it's just as important, and I feel like it has to get done.
It does.
We
You're
can't
right.
miss. So it's perseverance. I'm just the video guy, but that same dedication is on this side, which is the video side of things,
That's why the entire marketing discussion needs to keep as a backdrop the consistency with which we have done a podcast. We need to be good at it over time and consistently trying to be better.
Yeah.
And that's why it was a great leaping off point for the conversation.
One of the greatest compliments that I always get, even now, there will be someone who listens to the podcast for the first time, and they'll say, hey, I finally listened to your podcast, or I caught your podcast, or whatever. And one of the things that they say is, it's really funny, or something along those lines. Almost every single person, one of the first things, the first compliments they give is they go, it sounds so good and so professionally done. I wasn't expecting that. And that's the funny thing, because it's like, it sounds bad to like a normal person would go, oh, that sounds like but it's like, no, you are subverting the expectations
right.
of these people, because they're going in going, how good can a podcast from a local law firm really be? And then they listen to the podcast and they're like, wow, this sounds just as good and can be just as entertaining as all these Hollywood-based podcasts that I'm listening to.
That's exactly what got my cousins hooked. Is they were like, I was like, oh, I do a podcast, and they're like, yeah, let's listen to that. And then the next thing you know, they want to be, they're a part of it for like 7 weeks,
right?
And but it really is exciting. And what people don't see, PJ, is earlier today we have a guy sitting in our office with a story to tell, and I'll tell you this: there's nobody telling that guy's story like Foreman Watson Holtry's going to tell that story. We had, the guy is a big dude, kind of a burly old dude. He's a granddad. He's a father. He's a husband. He worked in industry for 21 years. This guy was shook up in a bad wreck. And he tells his story in a way that had you and I tearing up. And we capture it on video. And now the people that are going to be held accountable for this have to watch it. And that, my friend, is the essence of why you don't miss a podcast for 161 weeks. It's
right.
Because you do it right, and you do it over and over and over and over and over and over. How many videos do you think you and I have done with clients? How many times have you and I sat in a room with a client?
I would say at least 300 at this point, maybe more.
Maybe more. Yeah, it slowed down during the pandemic, of course.
Yeah.
So that may have hurt the
numbers. But I've been here for over 7 years, so
and I guarantee
it's been a lot.
I guarantee you we have done 50 a year in some of those years. So it's 350 to 400.
Well, and this is the other thing that I was thinking about too, and this goes into the podcast with your cousins that we talked about, is that one of the things that any kind of media like this does is it in a sense, immortalizes us, right? As long as the internet exists, these podcast episodes will exist. And even if the internet tomorrow goes down, we still have all the audio episodes like somewhere, right? So it becomes a time capsule. I could die tomorrow. Hopefully I don't, but if I
Keep
did,
eating butter on your movie popcorn
or cheese.
But yeah, it's
but
there.
like if I were to go tomorrow, my kids, who I can honestly say have probably never really listened to the podcast, they've listened to a couple episodes a little bit, but I mean, if I passed away tomorrow, they would have over 160 original opportunities to hear me discussing and talking about things. Same with, your
My
family.
kids, absolutely.
And our ancestors and our kids' kids and so on and so forth. And I say all that to say this. When we sit down with our clients, we are capturing, in some respects, for some of them, one of the worst experiences in their lives. We're capturing all the details. We're going through everything. But when it's all said and done, it is a small documentary. It is a small piece of this person's life.
Right.
And when their case is done,
they get a copy
they
of
get
it.
a copy of it. It becomes the wedding video, right? It's like you never just sit down and watch your wedding video. These people are not going to want to relive that and sit down and watch it. But you know who might? Their kids' kids or their kids. At some point, someone will go, hey, who was so-and-so in our family? And they'll be like, you know what?
Got a video.
We have this video. Now, it was of a very emotional time in their life, but you'll get to see who they are and how something, whether it's traumatic or dramatic or whatever, how it affects them. And they talk about us and all this. So these people in their families can sit down and watch these little documentaries about their family members.
I think it's important. The girls, they've listened to the ones they've been on, I think,
Right.
my kids, and maybe a few others, the Christmas movie ones. I know they always try to pick up on those. But you're right. About a year ago, I created a subfolder on my phone to put all my dad's voicemails in, because when he's gone, there may be some days I just need to hear his voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my mom, too. I've got the same thing. And I've actually got a subfolder with Missy's in it, because you never know.
Yeah.
And when you just hearing their voice and just, that is something that can comfort you, because when they're gone, you can't talk to them anymore.
Right.
So I think that's a point well made.
It's weird because I do the same thing. I have a bunch of my mom's old voice
Voicemails,
messages
sure.
just in case.
Just in case.
And the other thing that's kind of funny is back whenever that little time period where Leslie and I weren't together, and obviously we are back together now, but I have one voicemail that she had called me real late at night just to tell me good night and that she loved me, and it's only like 15 seconds long. I still have that.
You listen to it.
And sometimes I'll sit there and I'll listen to it, and we're fine now.
Sure.
But ultimately it's because it's that thing where you don't know what tomorrow holds.
That's right.
The people that you get to hear their voice every single day, tomorrow you may never hear their voice again, except
what's preserved,
the fact that you have it saved, and so that's what all this is. That's the one great thing about this kind of technology, is it allows us to continue on even physically we're no longer able to.
Amen.
Yep.
This has been Law Light. Brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. We appreciate your time and you listening, and until next time, God bless.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith and justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!